A focus on profit rather than production, combined with an interest in improving the health of soils, pastures, animals and people, has led Matt Long to change his farm management practices to a more regenerative approach. Matt describes it as carbon-positive farming. The results are healthier livestock, a better lifestyle, sustainable profits, and more carbon sequestered into his soils. The Long family farm is a few kilometres inland from Matapuri, on Northland's east coast. They milk 200 cows, once a day all year round, calving half in spring and half in autumn to supply winter milk.
This is a family farm Dad bought into a bit over 50 years ago. There was 300 acres initially, and we doubled the size of the farm about 15 years ago. We mainly do dairy cattle. We milk about 200 cows currently. Because of the distance the cows have to walk, and to make things easier for labour, once a day works really well for us. We changed about 15 years ago to more of a natural approach to the way we do things on the farm. So we put inputs into the farm that help the health of the soil, the health of the animals, and we want to produce healthy produce. What we're aiming for is to not just stop pollution or whatever, but to make the land a whole lot better than it was previously. We use fertilizers that haven't been chemically treated, so reactive phosphate rock rather than superphosphate. And we have used a lot of fish fertilizer. We also do a lot of microbial inputs. We put on quite a bit of lime. We use dolomite, and we use potassium sulfate, which seems to work better for the soil than potash. And we also put on some amounts of compost. I joined a group called Ecogent, which ANZ Bank helped me with, and they brought a guy in from America named Arden Anderson, and we were inspired by a talk that he did at a conference. Arden Anderson is an American doctor and agronomist, and he worked with the troops in America, and he noticed that the quality of food that they were receiving was directly connected to how well they performed as soldiers. And so he kind of set out in a crusade to improve the quality of food that people are getting. Since we joined up with Ecogent, we've been keeping rainfall, soil temperature, and fertilizer supplements brought in, supplements fed, the number of cows we milk each day, the daily production, and keeping all these on file on the computer, now on the cloud. And we're also, for the last 10 years, we've had our carbon soil numbers, which are all on a spreadsheet now. I use the services of a nutritionist and a lot of different soil scientists as well. This is a hole that my assistant manager dug for me this morning. It illustrates that the roots of our plants go right down into the soil. You can see the hole's about 500 millimetres deep, and there's nothing there to show that the roots don't go down a lot further. One of the things you can see is that although the topsoil is not very deep here, it is increasing. And you can see on this lump of soil the mixing of the carbon with the subsoil. So there's not a straight, hard line between the topsoil and subsoil that you often see on chemical farms. You also see some reasonably good pores in the soil. The water goes down through the soil profile and soaks up water very well. We've noticed a big improvement in the animal health. So for us, getting up for animals that are sick with bloat or having to worry at calving time about cows having trouble calving or dying of milk fever is mostly a thing that's far in the past. You don't even realise how well off you are after you've been in it for a decade. And yeah, the whole system's just got a lot easier. One of the big changes for us is we used to spend a lot of time and money trying to eradicate kikuyu from the farm, and we'd do a double spray and double crop system. And the kikuyu would creep back anyway. But since we've changed to the regenerative approach, the kikuyu is more palatable, plus the clover comes up through it more readily. So the kikuyu now fits really well into our farming system. So after Arden Anderson came to New Zealand, Peter Floyd at Ecogent, he saw the potential for sequestering carbon in the topsoil. And so rather than regenerative farming, we prefer to call it carbon positive farming. And The key things really is having a healthy soil with good nutrient inputs and a good microbial, particularly fungal presence in the soil. And we try hard to look after the microbial content of the soil. Over the last 10 years, we initially had the soil carbon go down, but we changed our approach a bit. And we've increased over a farm of 230 hectares. We've sequestered approximately 100,000 tonnes of CO2 equivalents, which is a fairly significant amount. For us, it's just a huge shame that the New Zealand government and authorities haven't picked up on this, because the potential for farmland in New Zealand is just huge. Carbon positive farming has got a lot of benefits apart from the CO2 stored. The additional carbon in the soil means you hold on to nutrients better, your soil stores water a lot better, there's less pollution going off farm, and generally everything on your farm works better.